After this exam, you'll be done with English language. The first core subject ticked off. Now, I really like English language. It's probably my favorite GCSE actually because you don't need to learn loads of content. So there is a lot every single person can do to improve in these last few days and hours because you don't need to just spam content and spend ages learning that. So make sure you watch to the end. Make sure you leave a like to get all of my grade 9 advice for English language. So the most important part of this paper, just like with paper 1, is the 40-mark question. Now, I'm going to be talking about the transactional writing 40 markers. So that is the letter, article, speech, that type of thing, review. If you do the story, then you want to go check out my paper 1 video because that was all my advice about the story. I'll link it in the description as well. So the first things first, this is a little bit harder than the story because with the story, you can kind of pre-plan a little bit. But with an article, letter, speech, you don't really know what's going to come up. So the most important thing is you have to be able to write each of those, okay? Especially if you do AQA when you only have one option. edXL has 2 options, which is a bit nicer. But you need to be able to write a really good letter, really good speech, really good article. Now, in the description, I have linked to my product, my store. So basically a 40 out of 40 mark article and grade 9 letter. So go give those a read and yeah, go buy them because that'll be really helpful in seeing like the top marks. So yeah, you need to be really good at each different type. Now, again, for the 40 marker, you need to be very, very alert to the question, okay? Examiners really like when you adapt to what the question says. So the first thing I'm doing when I get those 40 mark questions, and by the way, I would start on that 40 marker at the end. That's what I do. I go to the ends first, and then I work from the start, okay? So just the end, and then just go from the start to the end, okay? Because this is the most important question. Now, first thing I do is I'm really going to make sure I understand what the question's saying. You want to think about what is the purpose. What's the audience? What's the form? So purpose is what is it, okay? Is it a letter asking you to persuade your council of something? Are you doing a speech persuading students to put their phones down? What is the purpose? Then you need to think, who's the audience, okay? Is it just random people? Like, is it everyone? Or is it more specific? Is it your peer group? Is it an article written to, like I said, a council or older people, okay? Think about the audience and then think about the form. What is it? Is it a letter, speech, article, review? The top students understand the differences in these and shape their writing to meet what the question is saying. So a really powerful example is if the question tomorrow or whenever your exam is, depending on when you watch this video, is saying write a letter to your peer group or write a speech to your peer group, for example, then you need to adapt your writing so it is to your peers, okay? My best example of this is if I get a question that says write to your peer group, I will always mention stuff like Instagram, even like Andrew Tate and stuff, okay? Because that shows that you're adapting your writing to your peer group, to the question set. Don't go too niche because remember your examiner is probably going to be some like 60-year-old teacher or something. So they may not know who, I don't know, Mr. Beast is or something. So don't go too into it, but show that you are adapting your writing to the audience. Okay, that's super important. Now, the usual stuff apply again for this question, as in you need every single bit of punctuation you can get. You need a good range of punctuation, just a punctuation, paragraph lengths. So that means have some shorter paragraphs. Now, my best example of where to put a short paragraph in is, say I said a statistic, like 80% of students don't put their phone down at night. And then I'll have a separate paragraph saying 80%. And then a new line, something like, let that start sink in. That's a ridiculously high number, blah, blah, blah. So my favorite short paragraph is basically like a statistic like that. And if you buy my products, you'll see where I use that as well. So make sure you've got a range of paragraph lengths. Again, really good words. Quickly learn 5 to 10 just good words that you can put in, okay? I've done some videos on this. ChatGPT will get you some great words. Your vocabulary needs to be really strong, and that's an easy thing you can do, okay? It doesn't take long to just learn 5 words the night before to put into your writing, okay? And again, loads of techniques. So there's loads of acronyms for this. But remember, the aim of your writing is usually to persuade. Too many students are just too bland with this persuasion. The biggest thing I can say is be really confident. If you're giving a speech, really picture yourself giving a speech. You're confident, you're motivational, okay? If you're writing a letter, really be persuasive. Too many students are just bland. I talked to the head of English in the school that I currently work at, and he said the same thing. Students just are too afraid to kind of go out of the box a little bit. So have a look at my article. What I managed to do was I made my responses quite humorous, okay? If you write an article, you can be a little bit like funny, teacher humor. So I always mentioned, I think it was like Marmite, I always mentioned, like I'd make a joke about Marmite. It's that type of humor. Show that you are out there a little bit, okay? If you're doing a speech, be really motivational, really confident. And whatever it is, my main advice is pick a side and go on that side. So if you're asked to write a review about a place, maybe, I would either say that place is incredible and compare it to somewhere really nice, or say it's like awful and just slate it in like a humorous way. I wouldn't really give it like a 3 out of 5 star, just because I don't think that's quite as interesting. So just remember, your 40 marker needs to be very interesting, very engaging from the start. I hope that was enough advice for that 40 marker. Please let me know. I would recommend buying my products, as I said. Now let's move on. So analysis is really important as well. You need to be good and strong with your analysis. So analysis is basically just looking at an extract, seeing what techniques are involved, and then breaking that down. My main advice here is when you're writing, just hear my voice in your head saying you just need to go a little bit further. Okay, so it's not just one line of analysis. Don't just say the color red means blood. Just go a little bit further. The color red has dark undertones as it symbolizes or has connotations of blood and desire, something like that, showing the juxtaposition between those two. Just try and go a little bit further. I think the example I gave in my paper 1 video was the lower level students will see a simile like she runs as fast as a cheetah, and they'll just say this means that she moves fast. The high level students will say not only does this mean she moves fast, but also a cheetah can be compared to a prey, or a cheetah is an animal of prey. So this suggests that she's aggressive in her motion or something like that. Really good little term to remember is not only, but also, because that forces you to just go that little bit deeper into your analysis. Okay, so make sure you think about that. Past papers are really useful to just flick through. You don't have to do them now, but get up loads of past papers and just look through them, spot themes, spot patterns, and you really need to look at extracts. Okay, the more extracts you see, the more you can practice just picking stuff out, and then you can put it into ChatGPT and that will break down and help you with it, the better you're going to get. Okay, so get good at picking stuff out. That brings us on to the next point, which is your techniques. Try and make sure they're quite sharp and clear. Make sure you know what a simile is, a metaphor is, adjective. Often just those basics are really impressive, because instead of saying the word this, you can say the verb this, or the use of the metaphor, that type of thing. It just stretches and pushes you a little bit further. If you're aiming for the 9, take this even further and learn some really impressive techniques, okay? Semantic field you need to be confident on. Tag questions. I learned a bunch of random grade 9 techniques. So make sure you're all quite strong on the techniques and you can accurately pinpoint them, because that's going to be really helpful as well. You've got to also mentally prepare for a difficult paper. I think that is important. You've got to be able to react to a hard paper. So just try and prepare for that. Try and find some hard extracts and see what you can do with that, okay? But remember, it could be hard. You've just got to keep going. Answer the question, okay? Make sure you are actually answering the question they've set. Just when you get your questions, take a moment to just like relax and read the question, soak it in, and then answer it, okay? Make sure you really know what they are asking you and keep linking back to that question with your analysis. Keep showing you're answering that question. So I didn't really abide by a massive paragraph structure, but I always had that L at the end, so like appeal or whatever, a link back to the question. I would just show. Use the words in the question, okay? That's super important. Right. Another thing as well then in your analysis is using words like connotations are great. Make sure you embed your quotes. So instead of saying the writer says this, just say like, the woman's hair is described as dark, or the woman's dark hair. Try and drop and embed your quotes in like that. Honestly, I think it's going to be a really good exam. Don't get caught out by timings, okay? Timings is another classic one. Just don't do this. Know your timings. I've done a video on how to like be careful with your timings, but really, really be clear on that. I know a couple of people in the last exam messed up timings a bit. This is my warning for you to just not do that, okay? I hope that was helpful. Please leave any questions in the comments section. As I've said, it's the 40 markers the big thing, so you've got to learn how to write really engaging. Now, if you do Edexcel and if you do English language, which you're obviously doing, in the description, I've linked, as I've said, my shop. So go check that out, because I've put in a bunch of like stuff that you can buy and like check out the night before that might be helpful. Examiners reports is another final quick thing. Look through some examiners reports. They basically have loads of like high mark questions and why they're high marks. Thanks for watching. Good luck with the exam, and please come back to the video and let me know how it went.